Okay, so today we're taking a look at Defenders of Ekron on the Nintendo Switch. This one, it's blending shmup mechanics with some adventure elements, but does it do enough to earn a place in your Switch library? Or should you quickly avoid this one and go to one of the hundreds of other shmups available right now? Hit subscribe, you know you want to. We have a ton of content just like this every single week, and the support is truly appreciated. Hit like, it also really helps. And finally, let us know in the comments below if you'll be picking this one up. With that, let's get this started. So the story here, I've got to say, while not incredibly developed or anything, it is fun. Here we take on the role of Aeneas, I can barely say it, a young and bold cadet that has trained his entire life to pilot an Anakim. Now this might look like a ship on screen right now, but it's in fact an advanced mech capable of absorbing and transforming the energy around it into special abilities. Unfortunately though, things go wrong, and are you really surprised? But here Aeneas is forced to join an experimental program to face a renegade group of Anakim pilots that are out to destroy the country during a revolution. It's nothing groundbreaking, I'll say that, but for a shmup, it is entertaining. I had a lot of fun with it. So when it comes to gameplay, this might seem like the typical, twin stick shooter, but it quickly gets rid of that impression as you progress. Here we'll find that shmup blended with elements of what they call an adventure title. That's how they've described it. I'm not sure I agree. But Defenders of Ekron has basically the shooter elements we would expect, both horizontal and vertical, mixing things up every so often. That's kind of cool. But the adventure elements, they are sections where you need to navigate from room to room in your mech. What this essentially means is work out mazes, avoid bullets when you can't fire back, solve the occasional puzzle, I'd say, and then scan items and objects to move your progression forward. That's kind of about it. It was an interesting idea, honestly, but it's kind of dull just moving through corridors and tiny little spaces. So when it comes to the controls for this one, they're of the twin stick variety at a core level. Left stick controls your flight path, right stick for aim, and then the right trigger it shoots. Outside of this, there is a big twist here. Instead of the standard, shoot in front of you that 99% of shmups pretty much follow, here we can shoot omnidirectional, meaning 360 degrees. Now as you progress, new abilities will additionally unlock, so expect speed boosts, shields, the usual. Upgrade your mech as well. There's some nice little progression in here that you can really start spending your hard-earned cash on. Unfortunately though, when it comes to battle, don't expect too much in the way of challenge. Defenders of Ekron is simply just too slow on the gameplay front. This isn't bullet hell, this one. It's barely a challenge, honestly. Enemy count again, just too low here. When the screen does fill with the enemies, you can quickly see the potential for this one, but unfortunately, it just never quite reaches it, instead just teasing you every so often. To add to the challenge then, you will also find your weapons linked to a charge. It doesn't do much, but shoot for too long and you'll be waiting to power back up. It takes so long to use it, although again, it shouldn't cause you too much in the way of trouble. Now finally, outside of the core gameplay between missions, we do get access to our home location, which is an apartment, a hangar as well where we store the Anakim. Here you can do pretty much everything you would expect, save the game, track your progress. Something I really liked, a nice touch, was listen to in-game music. You can also investigate items that you found in gameplay, and then of course pick out upgrades for your Anakim. My favourite part of all this was the ability to replay past missions. It was nice to get, access to just a quick jump menu where I could quickly revisit my favourites. A weird miss for me here though, and this pretty much made it apparent, was there's no scoring system. Normally I'd be going back to beat that previous high score, but here that doesn't exist. I find that really unusual. That normally adds the longevity to shmups, but here the focus was story. It's an interesting design decision, honestly, for sure. I'm not sure if it's going to pay off with the shmup community. The only other thing left then is training missions. These are fun, they give you specific in-level aims and you get awarded in medals and currency. These were pretty cool for replayability, trying to go back and get that higher medal each time. So now that covers the main game, but this being the definitive edition, it includes a pretty impressive bonus, the Invaders of Ekron. It's a throwback 2D simplistic shmup where they've built, a traditional vertical scrolling shooter version of the game. Here, over 4 levels, it is short, it's also very easy, but as bonuses go, I like this one a lot. So overall, there's a good idea in here, it's just not very exciting, unfortunately. The shmup sections try to keep things fresh with constant change, horizontal, vertical, all this different stuff. But they failed on the enemy front, and that's key to the fun factor. You know, this is just too simple. Waves of challenge, they're few and far between, unfortunately. Yeah, the 360-degree movement is fun, but I wanted more enemies coming at me to really push my 360 flight skills into practice. So when it comes to the adventure sections then as well, I was just bored. Honestly, that's all I can say. It just wasn't for me. They felt not only like a buffer for the longevity of the game here, but I was just dying to get through these sections so I could get back to the shooting, get back to the story. Controls, they work, shooting, it works. I just wish the gameplay was overall just more fun and more exciting. In short bursts, yeah, I enjoyed my time with it, but I couldn't sink more than maybe an hour into it at a time, if that. Okay, so graphically, Defenders of Ekron, like the rest of the game, is kind of a mixed bag. When it comes to overall ideas, I really like the designs. You know, bullets, easy to spot, always important. Just the right amount of colour as well, they really stand out. The HUD then, it's nice and simple to understand. I never struggled to kind of know where I was going. The story presentation here, well, simple, it gets the job done. In-game text boxes, the, you know, hand-drawn, barely animated sections and between missions. This goes for the apartment and the mech storage area too, but I really liked it. It really kind of like worked with the storyline and worked with the in-game animation too. What really stands out though with this one, it's the mechs. I love the designs here, especially the mechs of you and your team. Each has a unique attack pattern and design that makes it easy to distinguish who is who. I really like these different little animations they've added in as well for different attack patterns. Outside of, let's say, the good guys though, the enemy design, well, repetitive in waves at the beginning of each level. It's also really nicely done. Everything has that kind of hand-drawn vibe to it. But the real standout for me, the bosses, they look awesome, they're huge, I just absolutely adored them. Graphically though, I will say they miss on a few areas, mainly the backgrounds, they can be a little bit dull. The levels do kind of run long here, so you're going to be looking at them for quite a long time. Fortunately, you are onto the next stage before you get too fed up. So overall, I'm going to say for graphics, it's great work here, I like the look of it. Just a tiny bit more in the backgrounds would have helped this one, and working on those initial smaller enemy waves. You know, rather than just repeating the same ship over and over again, it would have been huge for you. But generally, this is good work. Okay, so audio and sound and music here, it's a typical, you know, rock soundtrack that are pretty much standard for the shmup genre. It's fast-paced, it's exciting, it's far from the best I've heard, but it matches the action well and it never got annoying. I wouldn't go listening to this one out of the game world, but it got everything right. I like the addition in the apartment, I could listen to it, I would say I would put it on there occasionally. Outside of this though then, there's very little else. There's no dialogue in game and the only real sounds are weapons, power-ups and explosions. Overall though, we get a good variety here. Weapons, they could have done with a few more effects, but generally speaking, this one, it ticks all the right boxes. Explosions, they sound big. Enemy fire, it sounds exciting, and the music keeps that pace going. Okay, so the final verdict on Defenders of Ekron, it gets a lot of things right. Story, graphics for the most part, and audio. Unfortunately though, a shmup survives by its capabilities as a shooter, and this one for me, it's just too simplistic. Enemy waves are repetitive, bullet patterns are simple, the pace here is just slow, and then they break the missions down with these dull kind of adventure sections that just didn't work for me. If you're new to the genre, then this actually might be a good place to start. You know, the pacing, the patterns, it's all perfect for someone new to the shmup world. For everyone else though, it's gotta be the story if you want to play this one. We don't even get a high score system here for the longevity to go back and revisit. Today I'm awarding Defenders of Ekron an average 5 out of 10. Missing on gameplay, I just can't go higher than that. You know, no matter how I look at it, if the gameplay is not there, then it can't be any higher than average in my opinion, especially when the shmup options are so strong on the Nintendo Switch. Hit like, hit subscribe, let us know your thoughts in the comments below, and with that, we'll see you all soon on the next Gaming X.